Hey guys, welcome to this video on the C programming language. So in this video we want to write a program that finds the GCD or greatest common divisor or greatest common denominator of two integers, which is just the largest integer that can exactly divide both numbers without a remainder. So let's go ahead and get started by first writing a description about what this program does and some comments. Alright, so I'm writing the description now, and what this program does is this program finds the GCD or greatest common divisor of two integers. Okay, and what we're going to be using here is the Euclidean algorithm, which is pretty straightforward. It basically states that if we're given two numbers, we can repeatedly replace the larger number with the greater number mod the lesser number, and then keep repeating the steps until one of the two numbers reaches 0, and then the other number will then be the GCD or greatest common divisor. And I'm going to go ahead and write that out here as well. So we have Euclidean algorithm, and it states if we're given two integers or two numbers, repeatedly replace the larger number with the greater number, mod the lesser number, and then we're going to keep repeating the step until one of the two numbers reaches 0. Then the other number will then be the greatest common divisor. All right. So let's include our library and get started programming. So we're going to include stdio.h, and let's set up our main function. So integer main, we're going to return an integer value like 1. And let's create our function and call it GCD. It's going to return an integer value, and it's going to have inputs A and B as integers. And let's take that function, bring it down here, and start programming this algorithm. So immediately this program tells me that we're going to need some type of looping, because we have to keep repeating steps over and over again. So we can probably use either a for loop or a recursive loop, but in this case I want to use recursion. So we're going to use I guess a recursive loop is what they call it. So we're going to use recursion for our function. Now something else that I noticed here, it says in the Euclidean algorithm, repeatedly replace the larger number with the greater number mod the lesser number. So that tells me I need to keep a track of the number that's bigger than the other number. So we already have two numbers, because it first starts off and says given two numbers, we have our two numbers A and B. We want to repeatedly replace the larger number. So let's keep track of the variable that is larger. So we want to, well, let's see, I put it in the comments here. Okay, so we basically want a check to find out which number is larger, and then what we're going to do is switch the variables such that the larger number is always the same variable. All right, so I would choose for B to always be the larger variable. So here I'm going to put a little note that says B will always be the larger number with this check and swap that we're going to do. So now let's go ahead and create that. So we need to do a comparison with variables a and b. So if b is less than a, that means that a is greater than b, then we want to swap the values in a and b. And in order to do that, I'm going to create a temporary variable, a temporary integer variable called temp. And we're going to set it equal to a. And then we're going to set a equal to b, and then set b equal to temp. And this will swap the values in a and b for us. So now b will always be the larger number with this check. So we don't have to worry about, which one's the larger number, because this will handle it for us. Okay. So I want this to be recursive. So we're going to need a base case, and the base case tells us when this function is going to stop repeating. And we can see in the Euclidean algorithm here, it says keep repeating this step until one of the two numbers reaches 0. So we could choose either of the two numbers to be to reach 0 for our base case. So I'm going to just choose a to equal 0, and then it's going to return some value, and else this will be our recursive case. We're going to return the function GCD, and of course this is our base case. All right, so what do we need to return in our base case? Well, it says keep repeating the step until one of the two numbers reaches 0. The other number will then be the greatest common divisor. So we're going to return the other number, which is b. b would be the other number. Okay, and now what's going to be our recursive case here? What are we returning? We're going to be repeatedly replacing the larger number with the greater number mod the lesser number. So b is the greater number, and it's in this position or portion of the parameters, the second parameter in our GCD. So we're going to return a comma the largest number modded by the smaller number, and we're going to be replacing the larger number with that, just like the algorithm states here. And then that should be it for our function. So let's test this. Let's create two variables, a and b, and let's get input from the user. So we're going to ask the user for input variables, or how about this, for input values for variables a and b. So we're going to do a print statement here, and I'm going to print this program returns the greatest common divisor of integers a and b. And then we're going to go to a new line here. And now let's print and ask the user to input a value for a. And so now we need to scan in that value or get that value from the user. So we do quotes %d quotes comma ampersand a, and this right here scans in the value for a. And I'm just going to copy these two functions and do the same thing for our variable b, but just replace a with b here. Okay, and now we're done getting the values for a and b. Next, let's print the GCD. So we're going to say printf %d is the greatest common divisor, and then a new line, and we're going to print out our function. So we're going to have GCD of A comma B, and then we want semicolon here. And let's make sure we put a comment here. So print the GCD of inputs A and B. All right, and I think this should be it. So let's go ahead and run the program. All right, perfect. No issues. So here we have this program returns the greatest common divisor of integers A and B, and we want to input A. So let's input 8 for A, and let's input 12 for B. And now the common divisor, the greatest common divisor, would be 4, I believe, if I'm doing my math correctly. And so that's exactly what we get back. 4 is the greatest common divisor. Let's try 12 and 8, just to show that it doesn't matter which variable is greater. So here we have 4 is the greatest common divisor again, so that's perfect. Let's try another example. Let's try 100 and 200. So I believe 100 is the greatest common divisor. And indeed, that's what we get, is 100 is the greatest common divisor. And now something else I just thought about, down here in the recursive case, the way that we set up this swap for the greater value, this recursive case, it doesn't matter the parameters. So of course they still have to be A and B mod A, but their position within this function doesn't matter, because this check here will make sure that B, that if B is less than A, then B will become the larger number. So we can see here that this still will run as we expected, or as we intended it to run. So let's go ahead and run this again, and let's put in 12 and 8 again. And what we'll find out is that we have 4 is still the greatest common divisor. All right, so let me put that back. Okay, now that's basically it. So thank you guys for watching this video. Please leave any questions you have in the comment section. Don't forget to hit that like button and click on that subscribe button. And if you found this video helpful, please share it. Maybe others will find it helpful as well. And I'll be sure to leave a link to my GitHub with this code on it, so you can check it out yourself. You can download it and play with it. And you can see my other C programs on there as well. So be sure to check out that GitHub repository and that link that I will again have on the description. And as always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.